Zuckerberg, this is an administrative board hearing. You're being accused of intentionally breaching security, violating copyrights, violating individual privacy by creating the website www.facesmash.com. You're also charged with being in violation of university policy on distribution of digitized images. Before we begin with our questioning, you're allowed to make a statement. Would you like to do so?
I've already apologized in the Crimson to the ABHW, to Fuerza Latina, and to any women at Harvard who may have been insulted, as I take it that they were. As for any charges stemming from the breach of security, I believe I deserve some recognition from this board.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
I don't understand.
Which part?
You deserve recognition.
I believe I pointed out some pretty gaping holes in your system.
Excuse me, may I?
Yes.
Mr. Zuckerberg, I'm in charge of security for all computers on the Harvard network, and I can assure you of its sophistication. In fact, it was that level of sophistication that led us to you in less than 4 hours.
4 hours?
Yes, sir.
That would be impressive, except if you had known what you were looking for, you would have seen it written on my dorm room window.
Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Weston Media Podcast Network, a weekly podcast discussing movie news, reviews, and recommendations. Our theme this week is Biographical Corporate Stories, and we just heard a scene from The Social Network, a tie into this week's review of the new Ben Affleck film Air, which recently became available on Amazon Prime. Later on in the show, in our recommendations shelf segment, we'll share movie recommendations for more biographical corporate stories, so stick around after our main review. I am Nathan Schur, and with me are Ellie Escobar and Sam Cole. This is your cue.
It's a pleasure to be here. Hello, how are you? Be sure to watch Fubar with Arnold Schwarzenegger on Netflix. Fubar, it's good.
I haven't seen any of it yet. Have you guys?
I haven't either, but I just decided to randomly promote it like a maniac.
Well, I'm sure they appreciate it. I'm hearing very mixed things. I'm not in a rush.
It looks like there's some CGI action, unfortunately. I just want to see real in-camera explosions, but that's just me.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to be back tonight, and good to see everyone's
day.
faces. How's everybody doing?
Oh my God, I think you guys...
I'm doing well.
Did you just hear me swallow? I just probably made a big
Ellie?
noise with my water.
How are you doing,
I
Nathan?
swallowed a lot of them. Okay, never mind. I'm great. I'm just fine.
You know, Conan O'Brien had he had Ellen DeGeneres on his podcast recently, and she too swallowed loudly, and he commented on it. So we are doing things that popular people are doing. We matter.
Yeah, but Nathan,
Yeah.
You see Nathan?
We're in the same
look at
sentence
me
with
like,
Ellen DeGeneres. That's
We are.
Where is she from?
Well, people out listening can't see this, but Ellie is wearing a red Angry Birds hat, which it's hard to take you a little, that seriously when you're wearing this. But I would expect nothing less. So
There you go.
it makes
see?
brings us
For
the
now on.
energy up a little bit, Ellie. So yeah.
You're wearing the red Angry Birds hat. The red, like, big
I
fat
am a
bird is the bird that
destructor.
causes the most destruction
Yes,
because you're
that's-
such a powerful actress. It's a good metaphor.
But I am glad to see that you're wearing the headphones on the inside of the ear flaps,
but the
not
first
the other
time
way
I got
around.
it right. Hey.
Yeah.
What, I wonder what an angry red bird sounds like.
Probably like this.
Nathan,
That's just my guess. That's my actorly
could-
Well,
interpretation.
Right,
you can watch the Angry Birds movie and see
They
what,
probably
how
talk
they
like
did it,
humans.
which I have never seen.
I it's funny. I could watch the Angry Birds movie, or I could chew glass. I'm not quite sure which one to pick, but yeah.
Well, we got a packed show tonight, and first thing we always do is we sort of just catch up with what each of us have been doing over the past week. Ellie, anything you want to share with us? Yeah.
Nothing.
Yay.
Time I didn't read any acting books. I didn't do any auditions. I don't know if that's good or bad. I think it's kind of like good because it gives me a break to just unwind and just connect with other things that are pending. And so, obviously, my survival job, I still worked. And oh, I do. I've been really consistent with my running because I want to do the Boston Marathon eventually.
Yeah.
But I run 3 times a week, and my timing is improving every single time I go in running. So that's exciting. Yeah.
That's
Very cool.
amazing. Yes. I think, I don't know if I shared a couple weeks ago that I was once training for the Boston Marathon, and I was up to 10
Oh
miles,
wow.
and then I blew out my knee, which was unfortunate. But me and my wife were doing it together, and she was able to go on and finish it. She's completed the Boston Marathon
Nice.
5 times. So it was,
Wow.
Five
yeah,
times.
that's
How does she
impressive.
qualify? Because I found out that they make it really hard
She
for you to get
did,
in.
no, she did the
Oh,
fundraising
she
part of
did
it.
the
And
fundraising. Okay.
yeah, she did the fundraising, which is, I think it's now 5,000
It
or
is
more
five
to
thousand.
fundraise.
It's 5,000.
Back when she was doing it, it was like in the a little over 3,000. And she raised money for 1 year Dana Farber, and maybe 2 years Dana Farber, and then maybe 3 years for uh, the Liver Foundation. I
Oh
think
yeah, yeah,
raised
yeah.
something. I think that's what it was, because
Oh,
we
very
had
cool.
family friends that need a liver transplant or something like that. So it was yeah, very worthy causes out there you can raise money for.
Yeah, and it's because I think we had to. Carlos wants to run it too, so we both are running together. But the thing is, we have to raise like 10,000. I mean, 5,000 each if we wanted to
Yeah.
do it. So
There's a lot of things you can do. You can approach a lot of businesses. Get you. She did a silent auction. She got a lot of places to donate gift cards, other donated items, and we held a silent auction and a raffle, and we raised a lot of money that
oh
way.
wow,
You can also go to restaurants, and if they allowed us to hand out certificates, if you go to this restaurant on a certain night, like 10% of all the proceeds from that night go to that
oh
charity. So there's a lot of
nice,
things you can
yeah,
do
yeah.
to raise money. And of course, we asked everybody in our lives to donate. Ironically, most people that were friends or family didn't give much. I hope they're not listening.
Yeah.
You know who you are. You know who you are.
It's not
But
usually the case though.
but strangers and people that you would not expect were the most generous oftentimes. And so yeah, but there's ways of doing it. It's kind of like running a crowdfunding campaign in a lot of
Oh
ways,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, you could do that too.
All right, all right.
Thanks for
Yeah,
the
Thank you.
$5, Aunt Jessie, you cheapskate. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, it was a very effective way of doing it.
Yeah,
And
so we were hoping
yeah.
to do it on 20 for 2024, but to be realistic for our training, we're probably going to shoot for 2025 now because just to be in better shape,
Hmm.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm taking this slowly.
All right. Very good. Sam, what would you like to share with us about what you've been doing?
So
Woohoo!
it's been a busy week, but all is well. Been moving around a lot. Last week I drove from Los Angeles to Washington State, and then all the way back to LA, 2,500
Right, and
miles. I went
didn't you
to a
get
friend's wedding.
adopted then too, or something?
Adopted?
I'm
Adopted?
no.
Abducted? What?
Oh no! I was discussing abduction because there's many areas up there that feel like alien locations. I was not adopted as it's too old, and no one wants a 42-year-old dude as their. But no, I
You
had,
guys
I
are
had.
You with
fun.
a little like beanie on your
They're like,
head and
"Rah, rah, let me watch Close Encounters. Give me some Doritos." But no, I did that. I went back. I shot a new Walks of World episode in San Francisco that went really well. Then I got back to LA and I flew back to the East Coast, and now I'm here, and now I'm on Martha's Vineyard shooting another episode here for 1 week. Great to be here. Great to like be in one place for more than a second and not be bouncing around everywhere. But it's very good. Great to be home in New England. Going to visit my dad soon. It's good to be back in the Massachusetts, Rhode Island area. I always love it here, especially in the summer. So that's my week in a nutshell.
very good. And I had a very quiet week, but we did get away for the Memorial Day weekend. Me and the family went up to New Hampshire, where we got some fresh mountain air, did some
Nice.
boating. My wife has a family up there that are on a lake house, and boating, kayaking. The kids did some tubing on the boat,
Oh, that sounds
and the
awesome.
water was ice cold, but that didn't stop them. I did not go in, but I did kayaking, and it was beautiful getting out on the lake. And I did a couple videos out there on the lake. So it was really nice. And as Sam, as we were talking offline before, I found the mouth of the river where the water from the mountains comes in, and it's a
Yes.
beautiful little spot there. I've been there before, but it's my favorite spot on the lake that I kayak to. I've probably been there, I don't know, half a dozen times. And it was really beautiful. Did some reading out on the porch. We had a campfire, did s'mores. So yeah, it was a dreamy getaway weekend. We all had a very good time. So that's what I did over the long weekend, Memorial Day weekend.
That's awesome. That sounds like the quintessential Memorial Day weekend, like
Yeah,
family, New Hampshire, mountain air, like
yeah,
introducing yourself to the summer. I love that. That's
yeah.
epic.
In New England, it was wonderful weather, perfect weather. So yeah,
Oh God, yeah.
that's what I've been doing, and yeah. So let's get into what we've been watching over the past week. Ellie, I'm throwing you
Oh,
in to the
well, thank
fire.
you. My favorite. I can never say that word, you guys. Is it succession?
Succession.
Is it
We should
succession or
probably have
succession?
secession, right?
Okay, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
succession. No, because no.
We should. I wonder if we should have a our own our own discussion about the finale, because I want to
Right?
talk about this as well,
Yeah, for
because I
real.
saw this as well, as did probably, I don't know, like millions and
Yeah.
millions of people on this past Sunday night. But well, go ahead. I won't
Anyway,
steal your
I
thunder.
saw that show. It ended. I'm pretty sad, but I loved it. I loved the show. I also started watching 1923. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness, you guys! I watched 1883 and I loved it. I haven't seen Yellowstone, but I did watch 1923. Started watching. I've been watched. It's only one season right now. I
You
loved
watched the whole
I
season?
did. I
Oh
loved it that
wow.
much. And the thing is, I got very emotional with this series because, as you all know, I'm half indigenous, Native American. And so a lot of scenes are based on what the church did to these children. And director Sheridan, he just portrayed the truth of what happened then when it came to the indigenous people. And I love that he did that. So I got very emotional watching their hard scenes to watch, and how these men treated these young girls. So you got to have a stomach for that. But
Hmm.
overall, I
Mm,
think the whole
yeah.
series, whether it's the Montana cowboys and ranchers fighting for their land and their cattle, to uh, one of the sons being in Africa because he fought in a war and he's not mentally okay. Oh, the love stories. Oh my god! I mean, it's got everything. The cinematography of this series is it's ridiculous. It's like watching a feature film, but it's a series. And the sets that they built a set where there's a huge boat like the Titanic on it. It's ridiculous, but well done. I loved it. So I seen that one, and love it.
Well, the whole
Yeah.
Tyler Sheridan series that he's putting together, it's been coined as like the secession for Middle America.
Mm.
Mm,
Huh.
hear that.
Interesting. I never
Yeah,
heard,
yeah.
yeah. And Love and Death. If you have not seen that
Hmm.
series, you have to watch. Okay, Elizabeth Olsen is amazing in this
It's the
series.
third week in a row you've been mentioning
I'm
this, so
telling
you're
you,
really selling this.
you cannot go wrong watching the series. It's a short series. It's short. It ended already.
Oh,
Um,
I'm gonna have to check this out.
Amazing work again by all the characters, by all the actors in that series. And then I'm watching the cheesy series that's back, Selling Sunset, on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch it because I looked at those homes that they're sell, like $20 million homes. I'm like, what? Yeah, they make like $500,000 commission on different selling of the houses. So it's like
It was
ridiculous.
a real estate show.
It's a real estate show, and
Okay.
yeah, it's drama. Don't cheesy, but I watch it anyway.
All right. All right.
Yeah, that's it.
Very good. Great. All right. Sam.
So this past week, I happened to see two movies. One just happened to be on AMC because I was super exhausted. I walked from Pier 39 to Fort Point in San Francisco, shooting an episode, walked back, got on a boat, shot like B-roll in San Francisco Bay. I got back to my room, and it just so happened that I was just in time. I was within the first 5 minutes of Beverly Hills Cop 3 on AMC.
Wow.
Directed by John Landis. And I have to say, to be honest, to be brutally honest, to be the honest critic within me, it's less cool than Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2. Whatever you think of 2, even if you think 2 is not as good as 1, and
I
1
like
is the
2
best.
a lot.
I like 2 a lot. I personally like 2. Tony Scott gives 2 this flair, and 2 is just like a sleek 1980s action picture. I don't dislike 3. John Landis directed it. I just think the cinematics are a lot more kind of straightforward and standard. It's more like wide shot, push into close up, standard wide shot, whereas Tony Scott gives a lot more flair in his direction. But what I do like about 3 is, in spite of the cheesy amusement park setting, Wonder World, which does rub off on me a little bit because I enjoy the movie, the villain played by Timothy Carhart in Beverly Hills Cop 3. He is the biggest, like, douchebag, slimy villain. He does such a good job at being an antagonist that I actually really like his performance in the picture. And I can't hate Beverly Hills Cop 3 because there is a George Lucas cameo in the movie. He is literally at Wonder World trying to get in line on a ride, and like he's sitting there and he's like, hey, well, let's go somewhere else. And he's like with like this woman, and they just walk away, and it's like, oh my God, George Lucas just appeared in Beverly Hills Cop 3. That just happened. 10 extra points to this movie. So I enjoy it. It's not great. It's cheesier. It does not have that 80s kind of pumped up magic that the first two have. The theme song doesn't play as strong. It's trying to adapt to like a mid 90s picture, and you can kind of feel it losing some energy. But I enjoyed it, and I was in the mood to watch it. The other movie that I saw, which I like more and more every time I see it, is I bumped into Steven Spielberg's Bridge of Spies on HBO. And I love that movie. It's Mark Rylance is amazing. Tom Hanks is amazing. Janusz Kaminski's cinematography is bleak as always. And
it's a gorgeous film.
It's gorgeous. It's a serious film. It's more somber, but what I really like about it is it really gets into the nitty-gritty spy negotiation details of the situation of trying to get 2 American prisoners for the price of 1 Russian. But in a nutshell, I just like the movie a lot, and I just think that it's a underrated Spielberg movie. It was very well reviewed, but I saw it in the theater and I liked it just fine. I saw it again, I liked it more. It's one of those movies that every single time I see it, I like it more and more each time, and it grows on me. I always thought it was good, but now I think it's honestly a great film. And just the negotiation, and based on a true story, and swapping 1 Russian for 2 American soldiers, and all the diplomatic difficult nuance that goes with that. I really enjoyed it. So those are the 2 films that I saw this week.
I was always kind of bummed that Mark Rylance won Best Supporting Actor over Sylvester Stallone that year, though.
What was Sylvester Stallone nominated for?
That was for Rocky Balboa. No, for Creed. In Creed.
Oh, no way! I hear that.
I liked the movie, but I wasn't crazy about Mark Rylance's performance in that. I mean, it was great, but I was so pulling for Sylvester Stallone in Creed for supporting actor.
I can see that because Mark Rylance so like underperforms. He's
Yeah.
like so quiet. You're like, is he acting?
Yeah, but it was deserving though. Still,
But he was
um,
good. And the whole like Cold War situation, like
yeah.
with the Russians versus America, it just tapped into the tonality of that time period really well, I
Yeah.
thought. Yeah.
By the way, going back to Beverly Hills Cop 3, I need to get your opinion, Sam. Are you excited looking forward to Beverly Hills Cop 4, Axel Foley, coming
Yes.
out next year?
To be honest, I don't know how good it will be, but like I look forward to it because it's just one of those properties. It's like, of course I'll see it. Of course I'll watch it right
It's
when
a
it comes
straight
out.
to Netflix release, which has me very worried
Yeah.
that it's going to be the same.
But I think it'll be good. I worry that if it's straight to Netflix, I think there'll be the banter and the jokes there and the comedy, but the action is you have to understand after Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2, those are like top tier, blow up a lot of stuff 80s action movies. And if it's just him telling jokes and it's like CGI, really bad action, worried about that. But I hope it's good.
Yeah. I have a very bad taste in my mouth from Coming to America, the sequel.
I did not see the sequel. Yeah.
Which I thought was one of the worst things I'd ever seen in my life. Some people
That's
would
too
disagree,
bad.
but
Yeah.
it was, I thought, absolute travesty. And it was so poorly made, so cheaply made. I thought terrible script, this kind of rubs me the same way when I kind of read it. But they're bringing back all the cast. Judge Reinhold, John Ashton, Bronson Pinchot. I mean, all these guys are coming back for this.
I hope it's entertaining. I'll definitely see it, but I'm not holding my breath.
But I'm
not
worried
like,
it's like a
it's-
roll call of like, remember him? Remember this guy? Remember this guy?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
kill me now. I'm not a fan of these movies, so kill me now.
Yeah.
Kill me.
Okay.
Just kill me. Now.
Okay. How would you like to die? No, I'm just kidding.
Like an angry bird.
An angry bird. I'll be nice and I'll only send you that little
Ronnie
yellow
Cox.
bird that like turns into 3 big yellow birds that doesn't do much damage because I really want you to live. I don't want you to die.
No, I don't. I'm not sure if I'm not a huge fan of Eddie, but he's okay.
I just, it's funny. Nathan, I know what you mean about Beverly Hills Cop 2. It's like, it's just like Tony Scott eye candy. Like just, it's so much fun. And it's like, I actually might like its soundtrack better than the first one.
That music is good. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't watched a single movie this past week. I've been just so busy with work, except for the movie we're reviewing, of course. But I've had too much going on. But as we mentioned before, Ellie, I did watch the Secession, I guess is how you say it, series finale, which I adored. I thought it was they stuck the landing in the show. It was Shakespearean. It really was. It was a beautiful ending, and I don't think. Sam, I think you've said you want to watch it, so I don't think we're gonna say much about it. I don't want to spoil anything.
But the tragedy,
Nathan,
the tragedy of that series.
It ended perfect the way it should have. So I won't say anything else about it because Sam, I think you need to watch the show. It's only 39 episodes.
I can definitely do that. I love *Halt and Catch Fire* on AMC. That was 40 episodes. Favorite show.
Knock it out. It's really great.
I almost want to watch it again. I know it's crazy, but
I know I have a strong feeling that I'll like it. I mean, it seems like I love those kind of everything I hear about it sounds great. So I will definitely watch it because I want to. In fact, I have to catch up on. I haven't seen any movies in the theater for a month. When I get back, I'm gonna like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and this and that. Like I'm behind. I haven't even seen Fast X, and I'm sure it's so incredible and the script is so great.
I'm not gonna give it away, but all I had to say is the last episode, the finale. There was a moment in that episode where I saw a sparkle of hope, and then it was gone.
So that's what I have been watching. I don't think I've seen anything else. I watched NBA playoffs, which did not.
The Celtics lost last night.
They
didn't
blew it.
I missed it. I didn't see it, but I walked past a restaurant and no one was eating. Everyone was glued to the TV watching the game.
Switched off our recording one night so that some of us could watch Game 7. And depending on where you are listening to this, you are either happy or you're not. But
I went to like a late night. I stopped by like a bar and I asked the bartender. I was like, "Did you see the Celtics game? What happened?" He was like, "I don't want to talk about it, man. I don't want to talk about it. It's too
So,
it
emotional." I
was
was like, "Oh,
they
sorry."
absolutely
Yeah.
laid an egg. But
a punching
luckily,
bag in the basement, and didn't they don't let me watch not to the games they lose if I watch. So I don't know where this started. I think it
just
started with a
I think
Super
you're
Bowl.
bad luck. That's
No,
terrible.
truly, my family won't let me
Throw
watch
an
Super
angry bird at
Bowls.
them.
They're
Yeah.
like, you're bad. Like Carlos is in the living room watching. All of a sudden, he walks down to the basement. He goes, "I'm gonna go punch the bag."
yeah.
Oh.
All right. Let's move on to our featured review this week, Air, the new film from Ben Affleck.
1984 has been a tough year. Our sales are down, our growth is down.
Sonny, I brought you in here to grow the basketball business.
People don't know what the hell a Nike is.
What's a Converse?
NBA All-Star shoe.
There's nothing cool about Nike.
You would have to have a pretty compelling pitch.
I can tell them the one thing the other companies can't compete with. Our basketball division is terrible.
I do not love it. This is where you come up with a brilliant idea that no one else can see. Let's hear it.
I got it.
I found him. Who's that? Jesus? Can't afford it.
I'm willing to bet my career on one guy.
My name's Sonny Vaccaro. I'm with Nike.
Do you typically make it a habit of showing up at people's front doors unannounced?
I don't like to take no for an answer. Oh, man. Here we go. You ask me what I do here. This is what I do. I find you players, and I feel it this time. Yeah, okay, it's risky. When you were selling sneakers out of the back of your Plymouth, that was risky. Don't change that now.
For a rookie?
Yes.
Who's never set foot on an NBA court.
That's the literal definition of rookie, yeah.
What's the plan?
We build a shoe line around just him.
I need the greatest basketball shoe that's ever been made.
Who's the player?
Michael Jordan.
All right. So we just listened to a clip from Air, the new film from Ben Affleck. And this just hit Amazon Prime a couple weeks ago. This was in the theater. Actually, it came to streaming really fast. But yeah, I got a chance to watch this over the weekend. And who would like to begin with their initial thoughts on this film?
Ellie, what do you think? What do you think about this picture? Fuba with Arnold Schwarzenegger on Netflix.
Okay, I'm just gonna say,
Bus thrown on the.
okay, he did well directing this movie. I feel Benny Affleck.
Benjamin.
He did well. I feel like he did well in directing this film. I loved Damon in his in the character. I felt his urgency, his pain. I felt Ben's urgency as well. I thought I felt like a little bit of what's the movie I saw that it reminded me of this movie? Oh my god. Maybe it's Wall Street. I don't know, but that's the feeling I got. Because I really love Wall Street too. I mean, that's the 80s movie, right? 80s,
I
90s.
love that movie.
Wall
The first
Street.
Wall Street. Yeah,
Seriously.
1987.
1980s, right? I love that movie.
87, yeah.
I could actually watch the movie.
Same year as Beverly Hills Cop 2. Sorry.
And Predator.
Predator, the Predator.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I learned a lot about Nike, I guess, and the company Nike. I mean, I mean, I don't want to say anything else because I'll probably spoil it for everyone. So I'll just wait until the spoilers. But I really enjoyed it. I think it had all the right elements for to be one of those corporate cutthroat. We gotta make the buck, or else we're gonna go under type of movie. And I love that. I love that because once upon a time I worked with a corporate company, and I could make a movie out of that one. I'll tell you.
Oh boy, I hear
I
that.
know.
I actually like genuinely liked it a lot too. And to mention a callback to an earlier movie that we reviewed a couple months ago, Nathan, remember how you were talking about the Tetris movie and how there was a lot of corporate elements that were kind of all over the place and
Yeah.
confusing? I thought this movie was very narratively clear.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of Ben Affleck's direction with this, with The Town, and especially Argo. He and this doesn't give anything away, but this movie opens with an '80s montage
Right?
of like '80s commercials, and another director would have just kind of breezed over that and made that scene short. And like Ben Affleck just
He did.
indulges
He
the montage,
did.
and he's like, feel the world, feel the atmosphere of this.
The music.
I like that a lot. And as someone, I mean, I have a decent business sense, but it's not the way my brain works first and foremost. So I appreciated that the storytelling was very clear.
Mhm.
You knew what Matt Damon was trying to do. You saw the potential in his plan,
Mhm.
and I just really liked all the actors in this movie. I'm a big fan of Chris Tucker. I was thrilled to
Yeah.
see him in a role in
Me
this. I liked
too.
obviously Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and I thought between the two of them there was kind of a double level of they're both playing their characters, but in the scenes it also felt like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, the actors, talking to each other.
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of Jason Sudeikis. I thought he was like
Jason
amazing.
Bateman?
No, Jason Bateman. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Oh my
Sorry.
God.
Yeah, apologize. Yeah, that was
Jason,
unacceptable.
I
And
love
by the
Jason.
way,
Jason.
to apologize again, by the way, Ellie, in episode 9 of our podcast at the 64-minute mark, I heard it recently. I referred to you as Eli by accident, not Ellie. Your name is Ellie, not Eli, and it is Jason Bateman, not Jason
Thank you.
Sudeikis. And I acknowledge my shortcomings because I was wrong.
We appreciate that.
yeah.
I do have
yeah.
to say something. I have to say that I don't know about you guys, but I felt there were moments where I even told Carlos this. There were moments where I felt I was watching Good Will Hunting for some reason. Does that
Well,
happen to you
I can
guys?
see that because of sort of the tonality of that. Like even though the stories have nothing to do with each other, there was a similar tonality. But I just, in general, I saw this and I watched it again recently. But I watched it with my dad on my birthday, and I had the option of seeing that or John Wick Chapter 4 a second time. I'm glad we watched that because it just the atmosphere of it, the tone, the directing. And one more comment. This is spoiler free. It doesn't give anything away, but I really liked that they did not show the actor that played Michael Jordan that much. And I thought that was very
That was very
tactful.
smart.
And I thought that was smart. I thought Viola Davis was amazing. And lastly, I will say, Jason Bateman, my apologies again, because you're an awesome actor, and that was a stupid mistake.
Never listen
And I had
to
a
our show again.
yeah, I had a martini before this episode with dinner, so that's why
And
I
you know
apologize.
what?
Thank you very
I
much.
so
You are the man.
I had to
Yeah.
say Jason Bateman. Watch me butcher his last name. I swear I saw pieces of that series that he played. What was it called?
Arrested Development?
No. Where he's a
where he's younger?
corporate
Oh,
person.
no, you mean the one, the serious one.
Ozark?
Ozark.
Ozark,
Yes,
yeah.
there were
Ozark.
Yeah.
moments where I felt like was watching that character as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool.
All right. So I think we have both of your opinions on this now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Sam jumped in there too. So.
Yeah, he just
Yeah.
hijacked
You
it.
did. That's what I do. I hijack things.
Yeah.
I travel and I hijack other people.
Yeah,
Sam Cole in the
no,
house.
because Sam says Ellie, and then he puts me under the bus, but then he
No,
comes
no,
under
Eli.
the bus with me too. Yeah, Eli.
Right.
Yeah.
First I throw you under the bus, and then I take away your time because that's how I roll, yo. Yeah.
How about you, Nathan?
All right. So I have some thoughts on this movie, and I may have actually, and you guys may have enjoyed this a lot more than I have.
Oh,
so
God.
interesting. Well, here's what I'll say. So I have been thinking about this movie for a couple days, and my first impression after I watched this was that, okay, fine, this is a decent movie, but I've been kicking it around in my head, and the question that I keep coming back to is, who is this movie for?
That's
It
a
ain't for
great
basketball.
question, though.
It ain't for basketball fans. There's nearly none of that in this movie. And I'd even say it's not really for Michael Jordan fans. His role is reduced to a gag where they're always hiding his face. It kind of reminded me of the joke from Austin Powers Goldmember, where they're like hiding his penis, behind like vases and stuff like that. It's and I think it's this movie is riding the coattails of 1980s nostalgia. And you referenced the opening montage, which is glorious. It's a glorious montage, but it has nothing to do with this movie except that it's setting the tone, which is fine. Viola Davis is amazing in this as usual, as one would expect.
Yeah.
But I also think she's not in this enough, and I feel like she is kind of like the core of this movie. Like it's Matt Damon and how he's trying to approach the family, and I wanted so much more of her in this movie, and I didn't get enough of that is how I felt.
I think that story is for Vinny, though.
Yeah. I find it interesting as an audience member that we're being asked to root for this. I'm nitpicking. I will admit. I think this is a very good movie, but I find it interesting that as an audience member, we're being asked to root for the success of a multi-billion-dollar company. This isn't the story of how a startup got this great success against all the odds. This is the story of how the third largest athletic apparel company went from third to first. It's a movie about big companies doing big things with big ideas, giving lots of money to talented athletes, so much money and talent and bad tracksuits in this film. So I don't know what I'm trying to say. I mean, like I said, this movie is completely competently made. Matt Damon is playing a likable guy. Ben Affleck's doing his thing. I love seeing Chris Tucker in this. I don't think I've seen him in a movie in, I don't know, a decade.
Yeah.
So he's funny, he's charming, he's good. The sharp dialogue in here, a well-written script by Alex Convery. Fundamentally, the film is solid, except I still come back to why. Why did we need this movie? I don't know. I feel like it's kind of utter fluff. We all know what happens because it plays out exactly what happens in real life. It's a relatively recent history, at least for people of our age. Maybe if you're a millennial, you don't know the story and it isn't something you knew about. But that goes back to my original question. Who is this movie for? I don't think it's for people under 40. Not with the way it's selling the 80s nostalgia factor, and people our age grew up with Michael Jordan everywhere. So is any of this new or interesting? And I don't know. It really wasn't all that much for me.
I
think it's a perfectly fine movie. I just wasn't.
I think it was entertaining. It was entertaining to see the 80s nostalgia. I think you're right. I think that's a great question. Like, why? But why do filmmakers make a movie that makes no sense to the public?
I felt like 80s nostalgia is a big thing right now. What can we? Hey, Bobby, what do you got that we can just put out into the marketplace? Oh, we could this, and like they're just going through the files. Like we could do this, and it felt like just kind of like something that they had, like the 58th idea that they had in a drawer that they could do, and they did it. And they did it well. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this movie at all. I just felt like it's a story that I knew about. I didn't learn really much about this at all.
Well,
I think for me, I would,
yeah. I'm sorry.
I would say no. I feel. The reason I would feel differently about it is I think it is for Michael Jordan fans. And I think I didn't see not showing him as an Austin Powers gag. I didn't view it in kind of a slighted, cynical manner as you do. For me, I saw it as more that he's like,
I'm being cynical.
Oh, I'm definitely well aware of that. Very well aware of that. But what I saw was that he is such an icon that they didn't want to distract from his iconicism with sort of focusing on an actor. And so for me, I think what it's sort of focused on is sort of the magic of Air Jordans and the fact that it's so ingrained into our culture. I see it as more of kind of an inception story of, hey, here's the mechanics of sort of how this went down in sort of a business sense. And so for me, I feel that it really kind of tapped into that, sort of like the underdog becomes an American hero. And for me, it's sort of like the nuance of business, because although I haven't seen Succession, I'm sure it's all about like corporate, traps and personalities. So to me, it's basically just a window into a time period. So for me, I found it like very moving. Just my own opinion, I didn't see it as a fluff piece at all or something cynical in that manner. But that's just the movie very strongly like worked on me, and I saw the appeal to it. And even though the third largest company became the first, largest company, I would argue that American capitalism is something to celebrate and enjoy and aspire to, rather than be cynical or make fun of towards, because whenever people say that, they're just jealous that they haven't made that much money.
But so to me, I did actually. I know you said that it didn't really taught anything to you, but I actually learned something from the movie. Like I didn't know, like the whole shenanigans about behind the scenes of what it takes to I'm sorry, hold on a second.
No, I was gonna say I didn't know about there was a lot that filled in the gaps for me, but I definitely understand like where you're coming from. Like I get it. Like it's not like this is a story that has to be told that no one knows about. For me, it was just the pleasure of seeing the business deals, like spoiler free, when they went into when they were having that pitch meeting to the Jordans. That was like, oh, this is fascinating.
So I was saying that to me, I didn't know. I didn't know that what it takes. So yes, it's a rich company, and yes, it's make billions and whatnot, but I didn't know what it takes. They're like behind the scenes of what it takes to make something like that work. So I was kind of like, oh, so this is. But I also like the fact that Viola Davis as a mom, and me being a mom, how she was just very sturdy, direct, and she was not gonna let some multi-billionaire $1 million company tell them how to run their business. And she went in there and she's like, this is what I want. You don't give me that, then I'm not going with you. And I love that motherly sense of, am I giving the spoilers now? Oops.
Yeah, we can get the spoilers anytime. I give my opinion. You can.
So I just love that fact. So there were so many elements to the movie that I really truly enjoy. Not only that, it kind of made me want to go buy those Nikes that I used to have back in the 80s that I don't own, that are probably really, really expensive now. And I want to own the white with the red, those. But yeah.
And I mean, there's definitely more to there's more to life than like crass corporate cynical. I'm not saying like making money is the only thing and that's it. What I just meant that like, for me, the behind the scenes business drama worked, and I liked, even though I totally agree that Viola Davis could have had more screen time, with the time that she had, I thought her character came off as so distinct as protecting Michael Jordan, but also knowing the value of how much she and the family were worth, and kind of not putting up with like other companies that were trying to swindle them a little bit. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
No, and I liked how no, she was amazing in this film. So I had no argument with me there. Why don't we get the spoilers, that way we can have a carte blanche conversation about all parts of this film starting now. Okay. So we are in a spoiler discussion of the movie Air. First thing I just want to say, we can talk about everything, is my other nitpick in this movie, and we've had this conversation many times on this podcast. I had a little bit of an issue of the egregious use of 80s pop music in this movie, which was just thrown about everywhere in here. I mean, this was just an 80s mixtape. Now, I love the music in this, but it was just anytime anybody was in a car going from point A to point B, they had to throw in some top 10 hit from the 80s, from nights. Well, they were very they used music from the air. They were very good about that, but it was so much music, just even sometimes only like 10 seconds of a song just thrown in everywhere in this movie. And it was at nauseum for me. A little bit, a little much for me. And and I don't know, that it got to me a little bit. But that was something that I noticed in this that was a little much,
But that's me driving
um
down the highway, dude. I put my
yeah,
80s music and I'm
but
like,
it wasn't diegetic music. It was just like their soundtrack that they just threw in here. The 80s was a little thrown in my face, like, hey, it's the 80s. Let's just put on everything we could think of. Let's
that's all
just
I
go
listen
into
to is 80s music,
That's
dude.
the thing, though. But that's what I liked about it. Like, and I know it wasn't like diegetic; it just was like just randomly thrown in every opportunity. But to me, it's like these movies have nothing to do with each other. But like that, or The Wedding Singer, or these movies that go full '80s like tilt.
Yeah,
I have it just
it
brings
just
me like
does.
joy to my.
That's
It just makes me happy. And
There you
I
go.
thought like if they tried to do like less 80s music, let's make this more serious, let's take the colors out of this movie and have a grayscale with like shaky camera angles and like quiet modern music, it just would have made it more of a
I
dirge
mean,
for me personally. Yeah.
they could have made it more like Secession style, but
Yeah.
which is very
No, I have no problem with the tone of this movie at all. I felt like it was just kind of a shotgun
Yeah.
approach to the soundtrack.
I
Not
disagree. I like the soundtrack.
okay. I also have to say my other favorite character in this, outside of Viola Davis, was in the movie was Matthew Mayer, who plays Peter Moore, the man who builds the Air Jordan shoe. I want him to have his own movie, his own show. I could have spent the whole film with him.
He
He
was
was
amazing. Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, I do.
Um,
Yeah. No, I think I know that you're like, what's the point of this movie and whatnot? Like, why is it not to bring attention to Michael Jordan? Um, but what about? I feel like it taught me something, like of how the process is done from if a top company and the process of what they have to go through to make it. Like I feel
Yeah.
that these people, like, all right, so yeah, they're a multimillionaire company and blah blah blah, but um, what they have to do to get to that point to make those millions of dollars is like had to start somewhere little, and it kind of makes me feel like when you work really hard, when you get the right team, um, I love the process of how they put the whole movie together. About how it's like it takes a whole team, it takes a whole village to make something happen, and in this movie I can see that process. I can see how everyone's doing their part and working really hard to get this one player and to make their money that way.
yeah, it's a great ensemble team effort. How this comes together. I think there's great chemistry between all the people that got this deal done. So
I mean,
have no.
I was not thrilled of watching Ben Affleck's feet on a desk. I
but
mean,
but apparently that's how the character really was. So
the
yeah,
real person.
yeah. But I have no complaints about any of that. I thought the ensemble with Jason Bateman and Chris Tucker and Matt Damon, everybody that came together as team, it was a great collaborative effort to get this deal done, and it was wonderful seeing how they work together.
Yeah.
And so um I have no issues with it, but it's
I did
so
feel
I don't know.
sorry. I felt sorry for Sonny Vaccaro's life. I feel like he's a very lonely man, living on his own, eating TV dinners, being overweight. Um,
Matt Damon did put on some pounds for this movie.
It
It looks like,
did.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And
I didn't really even notice it that much until I think the final scene where he's on the track, and
Oh, I love that
kind of
scene.
see
That
him
scene is so
kind of
great.
like wobbling away, like, oh, you're so sad.
but I do love the speech, the monologue he did in the conference room.
The boardroom scene, I think, anchors this movie absolutely, where they're all setting up to do that presentation
Hmm.
for Michael Jordan and his family, and that pitch is not going well at all.
No,
And it was like it was painful.
it
I
was.
love it
But
when
then,
Ben Affleck comes in late. He's like, I would have been here earlier, but I'm very busy. I'm so busy because I'm supposed to be busy.
yeah, it was like, oh my god, it was facepalm moment, and yeah, Sonny Vaccaro does deliver that
But
very
if
good,
that's a true story, if this is a true monologue like that, you know, he
maybe.
said this. It's beautiful what he said about Jordan. Um,
Yeah, and I love how we just like knew the future, and we
yeah.
had all the future highlights of Michael Jordan. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful moment in it, and everything from the championships he'll win to his failures as a baseball player, his father's homicide. All those things that that he's going to endure. It was a very impactful, emotional moment in the movie. So it definitely it is the moment that impacted me the most in it. So it was very effective. I have to give a shout out to another character in this movie that I think really anchored the movie in a small way, but I loved was Chris Messina, who's the agent in this movie, who was such a joy. His
Oh
tirades were
yeah.
epic.
Oh
Yes.
my
His
god.
tirades were epic.
Yes.
I wonder how much of it was
Yes.
scripted, but either way, give that man a Best Supporting Actor Oscar. I just loved.
It's
I'm not
great.
kidding. I
Yeah.
thought he was so good. He brought a lot of levity that I wanted in this movie.
Yeah.
So
He did
it
great.
was
I
wonderful. Yeah.
agree.
I could see too that it's kind of in some ways like a safe crowd pleaser. But when I saw it with the audience, like they laughed at every moment, they clapped, like it was just very like it had the audience that was at the theater. It had like a wide. You could tell the movie. You could sense the movie was working on everyone in the room, basically.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm not into like big crowd pleasing movies. I like my movies dark and angsty and things to
No,
end
I'm the one
sad.
with the dark movies, Nathan. Okay.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Like Jaws, it entertains a lot of people, and who likes that movie? That movie
Like,
sucks.
nobody died.
I love Jaws. I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
It's,
Like,
I'm being
nobody
very
died.
sarcastic right now. Yeah.
All right. I don't really have much more else to say on this, unless anyone else has.
But also, maybe like corporate movies aren't your thing. You know what I mean? Like it seems like you don't like business
Maybe,
stuff.
well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I do have things like The Social
Yeah.
Network. I like The Big
Yeah.
Short. I mean, some movies speak to me and some don't, and I'm just maybe very picky about them. So
Maybe.
I definitely understand that. Yeah.
I mean, later on in my recommendation shelf, I have one that I love that I'm going to recommend. So we'll see. Well, anyways, to each their own. Nothing, like I said, nothing wrong with this movie. Again, crowd pleaser. It's
Yeah.
very well made. I think Ben Affleck is a very good director.
Yeah, he
and,
is.
and underrated director as
Mhm.
well. I don't think he's made a bad movie. I don't.
The-
Yeah.
No.
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 Some are better than
What was
others.
the one that he made though, where he was a gangster? It didn't get as good reviews.
The one before this,
The basketball one. Is
Yeah.
it the one that he was a basketball coach?
No, he didn't direct that. That was a good movie, but he was one where he was like a gangster, and it didn't quite get like most of his movies get well reviewed. This one got less reviewed.
Yeah, it was.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know
I
what I'm
haven't
talking
either.
about. Oh, was it Live by Night? Is
yes,
that it?
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah. Anyways, Live by Night. Yes. Okay. Well, that is our review of Air, streaming on Amazon Prime.
Sir,
What?
are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Well, have you heard anything about either one of them?
I find it's best to stay out of other people's affairs.
You mean you haven't heard anybody say anything about either one of these?
Nope.
Well, what about these two?
Oh, they suck.
Let's move on to our recommendation shelf, which is featuring biographical, historical, corporate stories, because that is a mouthful. Because I did not know how to shorten that. Basically, movies of similar ilk. Last week was just alien invasions. It was so much easier.
Yeah.
Sam, I think you have a recommendation. And speaking of movies of similar ilks that I do like, you have one that I love.
So one movie that somewhat falls into the corporate structure, even though it's more of a character study. It's directed by Danny Boyle. It came out in 2015. It's called Steve Jobs.
Yes.
And unsurprisingly, it's about Steve Jobs. As the title may say. What I really like about this movie, though, is it doesn't the typical like corporate biopic of a leader will like start from their childhood, then they'll get their first job, and all of a sudden they own a company. Then you go through their whole life, and then it gets towards the end of their life. Then you see them coughing, and they go visit the doctor, and they have a disease, and then they die. So it's like that's the whole arc. But this film is very interesting because it takes 3 product launches at 3 different time periods in Steve Jobs' career, played by Michael Fassbender, who, by the way, did a great job. I thought he was really good. I really wish personally that Christian Bale had not had to bail because of scheduling, because I think he would have been the ideal Steve Jobs, and I thought his performance would have been incredible. I think Michael Fassbender is an excellent actor. It was an odd bit of casting, but I think he did everything he did with the role, and he really owned it, and he did a good job. But anyway, in a nutshell, it takes 3 product launches from I believe it's the Apple or there's the first product launch, and then it's the product launch of Next, and then we go full circle to the 3rd product launch. But it's 3 different time periods, and the whole entire movie is him backstage getting ready for the launch, talking with his co-workers. Kate Winslet does an amazing job in the film, and because of the fact that it's written by Aaron Sorkin, you get the relationship with his estranged daughter, and you see it through the lens of 3 different time periods. And I think that just the storytelling and the device is brilliant because it's a very unique and different way to tell that kind of story. There was a much blander movie about Steve Jobs called Jobs that starred Ashton Kutcher, and he thought he did a decent job. I thought he was good. I just thought that movie's storytelling was very kind of just straightforward and somewhat bland, in my opinion. This movie is just a fascinating character study, and we kind of see Steve Jobs' evolution at 3 different time periods in his life, told in live sequences. And God, I should have done my research, but the first sequence is filmed in 16 millimeter. The second sequence, Next, when the launch of Next in the 80s, is filmed in 35 millimeter. And the 3rd sequence, when he's, I believe, oh my God, I think he's launching the iPad or iPod. That's
iPod.
It's the iPod. That's shot in digital. So they even use different camera technology so there's a lot of thought put into the movie. That would be my recommendation. I just think it's a very interesting film, and I like its bold choice in terms of storytelling because it leaves a lot out. But in these snapshots, you get a window into his life, and it's somehow a lot more engaging than a lot of other movies and television movies that I've seen about Steve Jobs. So I would highly recommend it.
Chris,
Hey, Andy.
how are you doing?
Terrible.
You guys caught up now?
Excuse me for saying hello to my friend who thinks you're a dick.
I don't think
We're
you're...
there.
No, it's got a 1 in 6 chance of working.
God damn it.
Well, we're not a pit crew at Daytona. This can't be fixed in seconds.
You didn't have seconds. You had 3 weeks. The universe was created in a third of that time.
Well, someday you'll have to tell us how you did it.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna announce the names of everyone who designed the launch demo. I'm gonna introduce everyone and ask them to stand up. The bag was designed by Susan Kerr. The Macintosh font that's scrolling across the screen was designed by Steve Capps. The Starry Night and skywriting was Bruce Horn. Mac Paint, Mac Write, Alice, down to the calculator. And then I'm gonna say the voice demo that didn't work was designed by Andy Hertzfeld. Steve, 5 and 6 is your chance of surviving the first round of Russian roulette, and you reverse those odds. So unless you want to be disgraced in front of your friends, family, colleagues, stockholders, and the press, I wouldn't stand here arguing. I'd go try and get some more bullets out of the gun. Do it, Andy!
Yeah.
I haven't seen this movie. I have to see it now.
I think you'd like it, Ellie. I
Yeah.
think you generally enjoy it because it's character driven, but it's
to.
all like behind the scenes dialogue. Yeah.
You know, I saw the one with Ashton, but I have not seen this one.
Jobs. Somebody missed the boat on doing a Steve Jobs movie just called Steve. It really
And like
confusing
Jobs with Ashton Kutcher wasn't bad. It was just kind of like standard. I wish I could come up with better words, but the directing was very like, and then he went to the apple orchard and he did acid and he had a vision. And lo and behold, here's the Apple II computer in Steve Wozniak's apartment. It was just like, da, 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 da.
I did like Ashton in the movie, but I
liked him. I thought it was like some of the best acting I've seen from him.
Yeah.
It's odd because I think that Ashton looked and sounded and acted more like Steve Jobs than Michael Fassbender, but the Michael Fassbender movie is the better film. So it's like a weird trade-off.
I have to see it now. Thank you. Definitely going to put it on my list of 51 other films that I'm to watch.
Right.
Don't forget 2 Mules for Sister Sarah.
So Ellie, what have you got up for us?
So I was going to do Succession, but I got yelled at. Okay.
That's right.
No, but if I was to recommend a movie, and I only recommend this one because it's one of my favorite romantic corporate movies. I love Tom Cruise. I love Renee Zellweger. Is that her last name?
Yeah.
And there are other characters, but obviously they're my 2 favorites. Oh my God. And I love the little boy, and I don't know his name.
Just cuteness overload.
Okay. But I loved it. The reason I'm recommending it is because if you want to have a good feel movie with heart and romance.
You mentioned that as Jerry Maguire.
Oh yeah. It's Jerry Maguire. And I like the song that is sung by Bruce Springsteen, "Secret Garden." It's one of my favorite songs. And yeah, it's all about the corporate world of agents and football and how cutthroat they are, and it's all about the money and the fame. And then Tom Cruise and Jerry decides that he finds his heart at some point in the movie and says that they're doing it all wrong, that they should be, they should care more about their players. If they get hit and end up with 3 different concussions, where do you stop? Do you keep putting them in the play to play with concussions and then they die, or do you have a heart and take care of them? And so he switches from that corporate sort of cutthroat world, and he writes this memo talking about we should have a heart, and he gets fired because he has good ethics now. So and
Jay Moore has a problem. Actor Jay Moore has a problem with him taking on less clients and giving them more attention. He's like, we got to fire you, Jerry.
And then he leaves.
What's his name? Bob Sugar or something? Yeah, he's a bastard.
And then he leaves the job, and he tells everybody, right? Like, who's with me? And only one person goes, and she falls in love with him. And I
love it when he's like, I'm not gonna do what everyone thinks I'm gonna do. Just flip out.
He's so awesome, though. Come on, I love that scene.
He's amazing. I saw that film with my parents, and they both I have wonderful memories of seeing that. That's a great movie.
I haven't seen it in 26 years. I don't know whenever it came out. It's 96, right?
No.
Came out in 96, and Cuba Gooding was amazing in
my
that.
God.
Not as good as his performance in Snow Dogs, but he was really good in that film.
I think he won the Oscar for that performance, by the way.
Yes,
He
Cuban.
did. He was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know that phrase, "Show me that money," or like the other phrase that came out of that film was, "You had me at hello." you know,
very quotable. Yeah.
and so it's a good film movie. It makes you cry. I cry, and I actually, you said that you haven't seen this movie in 26 years. Wow.
It's been a minute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I find a movie that I find that I really touches me and I love, I will watch once a month. Like for example, The Notebook. It's one of those films I watch once a month. Yeah. So Jerry Maguire is
Okay.
one of those films that I can watch, again and again.
I love Jerry Maguire, and this just says a lot about me, but like the only thing that's hard for me to watch with that film is his life is so impressive to me at 35.
Mm.
I was not anywhere near that at 35. So I watch it and I'm like, God, I'm really
Yeah.
nothing, and it hurts a little bit, but like it's okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, my pick this week is the 1999 Michael Mann film The Insider, starring Al Pacino, Russell Crowe, Christopher Plummer, Diane Venora, and Philip Baker Hall. This film
It's amazing.
is about a research scientist played wonderfully by Russell Crowe in a very reserved performance who has information about the harmful effects of tobacco use.
Mm.
And Al Pacino is a 60 Minutes TV producer, and he's trying to get the scientists to share this important information with the public. But of course, big tobacco, the courts and corporations all stand in the way and go as far as to threaten him and his family to stay silent. So I watched this film a few years ago, and man, does this film still hold up amazingly well. It's got great performances from the cast. Al Pacino, and I think one of his last best great roles in the film. I think he was probably still equally good in he did another one after this that I think he was still great in. But he, late 90s for him, mid 90s, late 90s, he was fantastic. Even better is Russell Crowe, who was nominated for this role. And in hindsight, I think it was a bigger travesty that he lost out to Kevin Spacey that year for Best Actor. But Michael Mann directs the hell out of this movie. It was 4 years prior that Mann directed his magnum opus Heat. And he follows it up with this slow, riveting thriller with stakes that feel even more absorbing and more realistic than Heat, I think. So don't get me wrong. I think I'll fight for Heat as the better movie, but The Insider is great in its own way.
Let's get back to Brown and Williamson. If you decide to go on 60 Minutes, I got to know everything about why you were fired.
Why?
They're going to dig up stuff from your past. They're going to throw it at you. I got to know what they're going to throw. You understand?
I drink. A couple occasions more than I should have. I was cited for shoplifting once, but it was a mistake. Pushed Leanne one time, and we were both stressed out because of the pressure. She went to her mother's. I got fired because when I get angry, I have difficulty censoring myself, and I don't like to be pushed around.
I'm not pushing you around. I'm asking you questions.
I'm just a commodity to you, aren't I? That could be anything, right? Anything worth putting on between commercials.
To a network, probably we're all commodities. To me, you're not a commodity. What you are is important. You go public and 30 million people hear what you gotta say. Nothing, I mean nothing, will ever be the same again. You believe that?
No.
You should. Because when you're done, a judgment is gonna go down in a court of public opinion, my friend. And that's the power you have.
So, The Insider also has Al Pacino's best line in cinema history, and I quote, "I'm feeling two emotions right now, pissed off and curious." And then they go, "We cannot air this because of tortious interference." And he's like, "Tortious interference? What is this, Alice in Wonderland?"
Better than say hello to my little friends? Oh,
yeah. Oh, it's definitely better than that one.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's
overruled. Sorry.
I haven't seen this movie, so I'm gonna have to watch it too.
I think you would love it. I love that movie. That movie is incredible in every single way. Michael Mann's direction is just like, yeah, I've seen that movie several times and incredible choice.
The other movies I was thinking of, he was, I think he kind of fell off. He did Any Given Sunday after this, and then Insomnia, which I do need to revisit again.
Well,
I did not like Insomnia in the theater. I've seen
Yeah.
Insomnia several times. Now I like it a lot, and I actually really like it. Sometimes movies, later viewings, do wonders. Sometimes
I want to
it's
revisit
weird.
it, but
yeah,
but
I didn't
feel
like it in the theater. Yeah,
this is about where I feel like he peaked. I mean, he peaked before this, but this is like toward the end of his great roles, I think. And this was a great role for him. So
yeah.
anyways.
The Recruit was not as good with Colin Farrell.
I saw early.
I'm a spy. I'm not a spy. I'm a spy.
I was in a test screening. When I lived in LA, I was part of the test audience for The Recruit.
Oh man,
So,
what were your marks? Where did you have to review it?
It was middling. It was
You're like,
not
yeah,
great. I said, "Who is this Colin Farrell guy? He's too much of a pretty boy, you know."
I don't think I've seen Insomnia either, so I'm gonna have to add it to my list.
I think you'd like all three of those movies, and like knowing you, I think you'd actually like them. I'm not being silly. Like I think you'd enjoy it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So that concludes our recommendation shelf. That's it. Let's get to our wrap up. And out in wide release this upcoming week is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Whole new directing team behind this entry with the likes of Joaquin Dos Santos.
Joaquin.
Hope I'm not
Joaquin.
Joaquin. It's not Joaquin like Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh, it's not?
No.
It's in Portuguese.
Nathan, cállate. Sorry.
Kemp
Just wanted to make Ellie
Powers
laugh.
and
Yeah.
Justin K. Thompson, but we still have the producing and writing team of Phil Lord and Chris Miller behind this. Across the Spider-Verse stars Shamik Moore, Haley Steinfeld, Brian Tyree Henry, Jake Johnson, Jason Schwartzman, Oscar Isaac, amongst others. So I could not be more excited for this film. So thoughts on Spider-Man? I think we've talked about this ad nauseum, but I think we're all in some capacity or another looking forward to this one.
Yes, we are. We are. Got my tickets already.
And the other release coming out this week is The Boogeyman from director Rob Savage. This is based on the 1973 Stephen King short story. It stars Sophie Thatcher and Chris Messina. We just saw Chris Messina. Vivian, Lyra Blair, and David Dasmalchian. I always like seeing him in movies. So yeah, that's the other wide release this week. So yeah, any thoughts on The Boogeyman? Anyone running out? Does it tickle your fancy?
I don't know much about it. I gotta check it out.
Wait,
I haven't heard of it.
Trailers look spooky.
Nah.
You know?
I'm
No.
good.
Nah.
Nah. Pass. No.
Pass.
No.
Hard pass.
Hard pass. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there we have
Not
it.
gonna happen, Nathan.
Okay.
Tickle not my feather.
Oh, okay.
That was even you. Last week it was like fancy, not my tickle. Now you just said tickle, not my fella. It's getting worse each time.
All right, we'll leave it at that. All right. So we will leave it at that. Let me get to my I don't know where I'm at now. Let's get to our closing. So that is our show, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Black to the frame rate. Back to the frame rate is part of that's a different show. Back to the frame rate. Back to the Frame Rate is part of the Western Media Podcast Network. You can email us directly at backtotheframerate@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Back to the Frame Rate and on Twitter at Back Frame Rate. One of the best ways you can help us is, if you're so inclined, is to share our episodes on your social media feeds. Help spread the word. You can find past episodes of the show and other podcasts from the Western Media Podcast Network on our website. And I'll drop the link in the show notes. That is all. The show is over. Goodbye.
Back to the frame rate.
I want you to know it's over.